watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for DC News Now at 10. I'm Susan Tran.
Hi, I'm Chris Flanagan. We are in a DMV first warm day on this bitter cold Tuesday night. Temps in DC getting down into the teens overnight. A live look right now at the White House where President Trump is shaping his new administration. Much more of that coming up in just a few minutes. But let's get a check on that just bitter cold forecast with Chief Meteorologist Janessa Webb.
And Janessa, when you told us earlier this week just how cold tomorrow morning was going to be, I just could not even imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of the apex of this entire stretch that we've been in, and then we're going to head for a transition. So we want to make sure everybody's prepared at this point. Tomorrow morning, many delays and cancellations already streaming in. Make sure you're logging on to dcnewsnow.com. We have all of those listed for you because I want to make sure you're not stepping out too early and you're not layered up and you don't have to be at school or work super early. Hopefully you have those delays and you know about them. Right now, there's a lot of clearing that's taking place, and that's giving way to the cooler air, right? We don't have any insulation from any cloud coverage out there. It's beautiful, but just bitterly cold. And that's why you have all these alerts that are in place until cold weather advisory, and then the darker blue is more of that extreme level. We're already down to 4 below. Farther west you go, 19 for DC metro area. And you have this big body storm that is a historic storm well to our south. We're putting kind of a cap on this storm. It just doesn't have enough strength to make its way into the DMV. Thank goodness we don't want it running into temperatures like this. Tomorrow morning, as you're kicking off your day, feeling like we're at 0 degrees in many locations. And more on your extended forecast coming up.
Frigid conditions are really wreaking havoc all across the DMV.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Officials really struggling to keep up with the snow removal, icy streets, and water main breaks. That includes a 12-inch water main that burst around 9 this morning in Hyattsville, Maryland. WSSC Water is saying there's an increase in water main breaks due to the frigid temps. They typically see about 1,700 water main breaks per year, 65% of which occur in the winter.
There were points last week where we were seeing as many as 60 or 70 water main breaks and leaks in a given day.
At a recent Prince George's County Council meeting, many families complained, saying that the snow removal has been insufficient. DPW crews giving officials an explanation and also talked about what they plan to do better in the future. And you can stay on top of these dangerously cold conditions by going to our DC News Now weather page. Scan the QR code you see right now on your screen. It'll take you straight to the weather section of our website, dcnewsnow.com. And there you're going to find the latest forecast, winter weather warnings, and a whole list of the school closures and delays for tomorrow. New tonight, more details on the man accused of murdering his girlfriend in Prince George's County. Police say he went to great lengths to hide her body, and we do have to warn you that the details in this case are quite disturbing. Devontae Gray was in court earlier today and is now being held without bond. In court documents, investigators say they found the body of Alexis Schuler in this makeshift tomb. It was hidden in the walls under the stairs of Gray's home. The mother of 3 was last seen on video going into Gray's home, but police say there was no evidence that she left. We're going to have much more on this investigation coming up in the next half hour. We're following breaking news. The Trump administration directing all federal diversity, equity, and inclusion staff, or DEI workers, to be put on paid leave by tomorrow night at 5, and that's according to a memo from the Office of Personnel Management. The memo also directs agencies to take down all DEI-focused web pages by that same deadline.
Yeah, this all comes after an executive order President Trump signed on its first day, ordering a sweeping dismantling of the federal government's diversity and inclusion programs. President Biden had mandated all agencies develop a diversity plan, issue yearly progress reports, and contribute data for a government-wide dashboard to track demographic trends in hiring and in promotions. Meanwhile, developing now at 10, hundreds of thousands of federal workers in the DMV, they're being told to return to in-person work full-time. President Trump signed that executive order Monday. DC News Now's Daniel Hamburg live at L'Enfant Plaza in Southwest. And Daniel, there's some big pushback on this tonight from federal workers.
Chris, we are in an area with a lot of federal buildings, some that have been sitting empty for quite some time, including the Department of Transportation, the FAA. While many are in favor of this executive order, including Mayor Bowser here in D.C., a lot of people don't think that it's going to actually work, and they're also concerned about problems commuting with Metro here, too. With the stroke of a Sharpie, President Trump is hoping to fill empty office space all over D.C.
A requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately.
Cheers from supporters Monday, but skepticism from others.
It's going to be too hard. ADA accommodations. Some agencies can't accommodate the number of staff, so I don't think it's going to happen.
On the one hand, I understand why they're doing it, because there are all these empty buildings around here, and the merchants, restaurants and everything are losing their money.
But federal worker Markeela King says teleworking and remote work is a quality of life issue.
And I think they need to keep that in mind before they just sign that away. That's not fair. But I come into work every day. I telework if need to.
The reality is 54% of all federal workers aren't eligible for telework.
For the 46% or so that are eligible, for those who are on a telework program or eligible for it, they're an average more than 3 out of 5 days a week in the office.
Randy Irwin is national president of the National Federation of Federal Employees, the union representing 110,000 federal workers.
Telework is provisions of collective bargaining agreements, and executive orders do not override collective bargaining agreements. But only a little over half the people in the federal government are covered by a collective bargaining agreement.
He calls it political nonsense for a currently productive workforce, not to mention the problems it would cause for commuters.
I'm glad that I Metro, but on days that I have to drive in, that's going to suck. It already sucks, but it's going to super suck.
And so we will have to wait and see how this all plays out. Clearly, there is some pushback from people, and there is some wiggle room to give department heads of these departments and agencies the ability to allow some people to telework if needed. But again, we will see how it plays out. We're live in Southwest. Daniel Hamburg, DC News Now.
All right, just one of many changes with the new administration. Daniel, thank you. We're also learning more about the presidential pardons of roughly 1,500 January 6th rioters. And within that group, about 600 were charged with attacking police there at the Capitol 4 years ago.
Yeah, there were also leaders of some far-right groups who had roughly 20-year prison sentences. They include the former leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, and the founder of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes. In fact, after his release, Rhodes was part of the large crowd here gathered outside the D.C. jail to wait for the release of other inmates. Tonight, D.C. Council Chair Phil Mendelson telling us he strongly disagrees with the pardons.
Our law enforcement, then we don't pardon people who assaulted police officers. There were numerous police officers who were speared with flagpoles, maced directly under their masks, attacked with their own armor, and that can't be forgiven.
Among them, former D.C. officer Michael Fanone, who was attacked by half a dozen rioters. He suffered a heart attack, a concussion, as well as former Capitol Police officer Harry Dunn, who protected the Capitol that day. Both have since been critical of President Trump.
Yeah, President Trump also issuing an executive order to end a constitutional right known as birthright citizenship. D.C., along with 18 other states, including Maryland, are suing to stop the order, saying it would violate the 14th Amendment, which grants citizenship for children born in the U.S. regardless of their parents' immigration status. Unless there are legal actions stopping this executive order, it will take effect on February 19th.
All right, you know what that sound means. We're talking about the hottest team in football, the Commanders. In fact, star QB just named Rookie of the Year, that Jaden Daniels. And they're just now one single game away, one win away from the Super Bowl.
Win and you're in. It's simple as that, right? Yeah. All right, fans, of course, are pumped and trying to get their hands on all things Commanders. And that means it's really a big boon for local businesses. DC News Now's Max Marcilla with more on how everyone is now gearing up.
You gotta have the gold.
Let's get it out of the way. A win against Philly would be the burgundy and gold icing on top of the cake.
One game at a time.
But what we've seen out of the Commanders so far has been pretty sweet.
We're all happy to be sharing this moment together.
So sweet that here at Angel's Bake Shop in Woodbridge, Commanders cupcakes and cake pops are expected to fly off the shelves faster than a scary Terry go route.
It's been exciting. but nerve-wracking.
Claudia Salinas and her husband have been huge Washington football fans for a while, waiting for a moment like this, now turning the team's surprising playoff run into a boost for their small business.
I'm excited. You can feel it in there.
And they are so close, you can almost taste it.
Maybe we'll have them for the next 2 weeks. I'm just saying, one can be hopeful, okay?
So Claudia will be here until the NFC Championship, making all those cupcakes, hoping for big sales, rooting for an even bigger Washington win. And then on Sunday, she'll be with her family, turning the TV on and cheering for the burgundy and gold, as will so many of us. But not everyone.
The running joke, of course, as they started to win more was, man, Mom, you can't watch anything on the Bucs game.
Yes, it's that time of year for superstitions, too. Chantel Claiborne is part of a family legacy of Washington football fans, but says when she watches, they lose. So this Sunday, as she did during the Bucs win and the Lions win, she'll rely on her son for updates.
If I hear him scream, I know something's going on. I'll turn the game on really, really quickly, see what the play was, and then turn it back off again.
Playoff football, whatever it takes, all worth it if Claiborne can watch the recording of her team clinching the NFC, and then
we're looking forward to putting number 4 up.
Max Marcilla, DC News Now.
Well, that is some dedication. Our Max Marcilla with that great story there. Meanwhile, we do have some sad news to pass along tonight. Longtime Navy football and Washington Nationals broadcaster Pete Medhurst has died from cancer.
Into the full windup and the pitch. Soto hits it to center field. Senzel going back, still going back. He's on the warning track. He looks up and it is long gone.
Medhurst was 55 years old. He spent the last 12 years as the voice of Navy athletics and was with Navy Radio Network since 1997, broadcasting for several sports.
You should know about Pete more than anything is that he treated everybody the same, and if you were the lowliest guy on the totem pole, he still thought you were pretty special.
Well, Navy posting on social media today, not only was he a great broadcaster, but a friend, father, and husband. He touched the lives of so many midshipmen in his 28 years with Navy athletics.
New details out of Northern Virginia. We've learned lawmakers are a step closer to bring a casino to Tysons Corner. A Fairfax County Senate subcommittee voted 5-2 in favor of this legislation, so it now allows voters in the county to decide whether they want that casino in their community.